Oliver, I don't know how to explain this, but Emma was kicked out of her husband's house a few days ago, along with little Tommy. That message from my sister's best friend Rachel hit me like a punch to the chest while I was sitting in my hot Phoenix office. My little sister, once the family's pride and joy, was now on the streets with her 3-year-old son Tommy, who had trouble learning and talking like other kids his age. My name is Oliver Cooper. I'm 35 years old. I work as an internal auditor. I spend my whole days looking at company reports and checking numbers to make sure everything is honest and correct. It's not the most exciting job in the world, but I'm good at finding things that don't add up. I'm good at spotting lies hidden in numbers. I had always known my sister's husband, Brian, was weak. He never stood up for himself or anyone else. And his mother, Patricia, was mean and bossy. But I never thought they could be so cruel on purpose. I never imagined they would throw my sister and nephew out on the street like garbage. As soon as I got Rachel's message, I left work immediately. My boss yelled after me, but I didn't care. My sister needed me. I drove through Phoenix like a crazy person, checking hospitals first. Emma wasn't there. Then I checked our old apartment building where we grew up. She wasn't there either. I called every friend I could think of. Nobody had seen her. As I searched, memories of Emma flooded my mind. My little sister hadn't always been helpless. In fact, Emma used to be the strongest person I knew. 5 years ago, Emma was thriving. She worked as a dental assistant at a busy clinic downtown. And she made good money, had her own apartment, and was saving up to maybe open her own dental practice someday. Emma was smart, independent, and happy. She had goals and dreams. I remember the day she first met Brian. It was at a community barbecue. Brian seemed nice enough, quiet, polite, but nothing special. He worked at his mother's investment company doing paperwork. What I remember most was Patricia. Patricia showed up to every single date after that first meeting. She would call Emma constantly. She would invite Emma to fancy dinners and shopping trips. At first, Emma thought Patricia was just being friendly, but then Patricia started talking about marriage after only 3 months of dating. "Emma, dear," Patricia would say in her smooth, fake sweet voice, "Brian needs a good woman like you. You're so caring, so nurturing. Emma, you'd make the perfect wife for my son." I told Emma to be careful. Something about Patricia felt wrong to me, but Patricia was relentless. She bought Emma expensive gifts. She told Emma how wonderful she was. She even cried once, saying that Brian had been hurt by other women and needed someone trustworthy. "Please, Emma," Patricia had begged, holding both of Emma's hands at a restaurant. "Give my son a chance at happiness. He's shy and awkward, but he has a good heart. And I promise, I'll treat you like my own daughter." Emma, who had always been kind and soft-hearted, finally said yes to Brian's proposal. I was against it from the start. Emma barely knew Brian. She knew Patricia better than she knew her own fiancé. But Emma believed in love. She believed in giving people chances. "Oliver," she told me the week before her wedding, "everyone deserves happiness. Brian is sweet, and Patricia promised to help us buy a house. Maybe this is meant to be." I should have fought harder to stop that wedding. That guilt has haunted me for 3 years. Now, as I search for my sister in homeless shelters, I realize that Patricia had been hunting for a victim all along. She wanted someone kind and trusting, someone she could control. And Emma had walked right into the trap. Finally, after hours of searching, I found them at a homeless shelter on the edge of the city. The building was old and gray. The air inside was damp and smelled like sweat mixed with cleaning products that couldn't quite cover up the smell of too many people living in one place. And there was Emma, my beautiful, smart little sister. Looked like a ghost. She was so thin. Her clothes were dirty and wrinkled. Her hair, which she always kept so nice, was messy and unwashed. She sat on a hard wooden bench, holding Tommy in her arms. Tommy sat completely still, like a small statue. His big eyes stared at nothing. When Emma saw me, she started crying. Not loud crying, just quiet tears rolling down her cheeks. "Oliver," she whispered, "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry you have to see me like this." "Don't you dare apologize," I said, kneeling down in front of her. "Tell me what happened. Tell me everything." And she did. Emma told me that Patricia, her mother-in-law, had turned her into a slave in her own home. Patricia moved in right after Emma and Brian got married, saying she wanted to help them. But helping wasn't what Patricia did. When the first thing Patricia did was convince Emma to quit her job at the dental clinic. "You don't need to work anymore," Patricia had said. "Brian makes enough money. You should focus on being a good wife and preparing to be a mother." Emma, wanting to please her new family, agreed. That was Patricia's first victory. Once Emma had no job, she had no money of her own. She had no independence. Then Patricia started controlling everything else. Patricia watched every penny Emma spent. If Emma bought a toy for Tommy, Patricia yelled at her for wasting money. If Emma cooked dinner, Patricia said it was terrible. If Emma tried to take Tommy to the doctor for his learning problems, Patricia said it was unnecessary and too expensive. "We can't afford specialists," Patricia would snap. "Stop being so dramatic. The boy's just slow. Soon he'll grow out of it." But Tommy never grew out of it. His problems got worse because he wasn't getting help. Brian never said a word. He just stood there and let his mother bully his wife. Emma told me she had tried to go back to work. She applied for jobs secretly. But Patricia found out and convinced Brian that Emma was trying to abandon the family. Brian believed his mother, of course. He always did. Emma was trapped. Then a few months ago, Patricia brought a young woman named Crystal into the house. She said Crystal was Brian's new friend who needed a place to stay. Emma knew the truth immediately. Crystal was Brian's girlfriend. Patricia had planned the whole thing. She wanted Brian to have a new wife, one who would listen to her and obey her completely. Emma had started asking too many questions, wanting too much freedom. And when Crystal got pregnant, Patricia told Emma to leave. "You're not needed anymore," Patricia had said, her voice cold as ice. "Get out of my son's house." Brian stood right there and said nothing. He didn't defend Emma. He didn't defend his own son. They kicked Emma and Tommy out with just one small bag of clothes. As I listened to my sister's story, sitting in that sad, smelly shelter, I felt something change inside me. I wasn't just sad anymore. I was angry, very, very angry. But it was a cold anger, a calm anger, the kind of anger that makes you smart and careful instead of loud and stupid. I took Emma and Tommy back to my small apartment. It wasn't much, just 2 bedrooms and a tiny kitchen, but it was clean and safe. I heated up some soup and watched them eat. They ate like they hadn't had food in days. Tommy, one who usually barely ate anything, finished 2 whole bowls. That night, while they slept in my bed, I slept on the couch. I made a decision. Patricia and Brian were going to pay for what they did. The next week, we hired a lawyer and filed a lawsuit. We accused them of emotional abuse and abandonment. Our first court hearing was a complete disaster. Patricia walked into the courtroom like a queen. She wore an elegant black suit. Her hair was perfect. Her makeup was perfect. She looked rich, powerful, and respectable. She brought 3 expensive lawyers with her. Our lawyer was good, but he was just one person, and he didn't charge very much because we didn't have much money. Patricia's lawyers were brutal. They brought fake medical records that said Emma was mentally unstable. Warner, they said Emma had left Brian's house voluntarily because she was confused and sick. They made Emma sound crazy. Brian sat next to his mother the whole time, staring at the floor. He looked like a chained dog, too afraid to move. He wouldn't even look at Tommy, his own son. We lost everything that day. The judge said we didn't have enough proof. He dismissed our case. Emma cried all the way home. I felt like the biggest failure in the world. But that night, something unexpected happened. My father, William, came to visit us. Dad and I hadn't talked much in recent years. We'd had some arguments about family stuff, and we'd grown apart. But he showed up at my door with a serious look on his face. "Son," he said, "I need to tell you something about Patricia's family. Something from a long time ago." Dad explained that Patricia's family used to run an investment company called Cooper Investments. Yes, the same last name as ours. Weird coincidence. About 20 years ago, that company was sued for massive fraud. They had tricked people into fake investments and stolen their money. But somehow, they never went to jail. The case was settled quietly and the company disappeared. "I think they just changed the company's name," Dad said. "I think they're still doing business, still stealing from people." That's when my auditor brain kicked into high gear. I spent the next 2 weeks digging through public records at the Maricopa County Courthouse. I looked at business registrations, court cases, and financial documents, and I found it. After all, Cooper Investments had been rebranded as Premium Investment Partners. Same owners, same address, same tricks. I created a fake identity and pretended to be a wealthy investor. I met with Patricia's business partner, a slick man named Gerald. Gerald gave me the same contract they'd been using for 20 years. It had a hidden clause about dispute processing fees. This clause meant that if you ever tried to get your money back, they could charge you huge fees, so much that you'd end up with nothing. It was brilliant and evil. But I had the proof now. Next, I needed proof about what Patricia did to Emma. I tracked down their former housekeeper, a kind woman named Rosa Martinez. Rosa had worked for Patricia for 5 years before quitting suddenly. When I met Rosa at a coffee shop, she was nervous at first. And I signed a paper saying I wouldn't talk about the family, she said quietly. Rosa, I said gently, my sister and her little boy are suffering. They need your help. Rosa looked at me for a long moment. Then she nodded. She told me everything. She confirmed that Patricia treated Emma like a prisoner. Emma wasn't allowed to work. She wasn't allowed to spend money. She wasn't even allowed to take Tommy to the doctor without asking permission first. Rosa also told me something that made my blood boil. Patricia had forced Emma to hand over her entire savings account, the money Emma had earned from years of working at the dental clinic. Patricia told Emma it was for the family fund, Rosa said, but that money went straight into Patricia's personal account. I saw the bank statements once when I was cleaning Patricia's office. Rosa wrote down everything in a signed statement. Now I had what I needed. The second trial was completely different from the first. This time the courtroom was packed. Local news reporters sat in the back rows. The judge was a stern woman named Judge Martinez, no relation to Rosa. We presented everything. The pattern of investment fraud, the statements from victims who had lost their life savings to Patricia's schemes, Rosa's testimony about how Emma was treated. Patricia's lawyers tried to object and argue, but the evidence was too strong. Then came the moment that changed everything. Brian was called to testify. He walked slowly to the witness stand. He looked terrible, pale and thin, with dark circles under his eyes. Patricia's lawyer asked him easy questions, trying to make Emma look bad. But then our lawyer stood up for cross-examination. Brian, our lawyer said quietly, did you love Emma when you married her? Brian's voice was barely a whisper. Yes. Do you love your son, Tommy? Brian started crying. Yes. Then why did you let your mother throw them away? The courtroom was completely silent. Brian broke down completely. He admitted everything. He said he was a coward. He said his mother had controlled him his whole life, and he was too weak to stop her. He admitted that his mother had arranged everything with Crystal. He admitted that Emma had been treated like a slave. He even admitted that Patricia had taken Emma's savings, over $30,000 that Emma had worked so hard to earn. Patricia screamed at him to stop talking, but it was too late. The judge made her decision quickly. Patricia was sentenced to 12 years in prison for fraud and abuse. Brian was sentenced to 6 years for being part of the fraud and for child abandonment. The investment company was shut down permanently, and Emma was awarded $500,000 in compensation, money that came from Patricia's seized assets. This included Emma's stolen savings plus damages. Most importantly, Emma got complete custody of Tommy. Brian had no rights to see him. The reflection justice doesn't always come quickly. Sometimes it only arrives when you refuse to give up. Today, Emma has her own apartment. It's small but cozy, with a bedroom just for Tommy filled with toys and books. Tommy is doing so much better. He goes to therapy 3 times a week, and he's finally starting to smile and respond when we say his name. Last week, he said Uncle Oliver for the first time, and I cried like a baby. Life's greatest treasure isn't money or houses or fancy things. The greatest treasure is the peace that comes from knowing the truth and fighting for what's right. I have one question for you. Does Patricia deserve the punishment? Let me know in the comment and tell me the city you are watching from.